Now we are live. All
What
right.
happened?
I don't know.
That was so weird. And also, like, it usually gives me the second prompt, and that time it did not give me the second prompt.
Didn't give you a second prompt. That's that's really odd. Well, we've had a great time, folks.
We covered a lot of shit. Where did it didn't go at all, huh?
You know, when we were talking about that thing earlier where things kind of go wrong, and I was saying to Robbie that it's, about the thing and you got to change directions. And well, that's apropos right now. Because that's what just has happened. Hi, folks. For those of you that are confused,
we've been backstage having a great show.
Oh, man, it has been fantastic. The show that you have missed because of a software glitch.
Things. I have said some amazing things.
Like world problems were solved in this episode.
All of them. All of the problems, from healthcare to politics, we solved them all. And you guys missed it. And there's no way. There's no recording. There's no evidence of it.
There's no evidence of it.
What the fuck, dude? Well,
oh my God.
I'm going to be out of here by 7:30, so I guess this is going to be a short show. Well,
it's going to be a short show. Hey, for all of you that have been waiting, thank you. We have thought we were live a long ago. And I just recently accidentally discovered we are not live.
Well, and it's funny because I looked up in the corner. I was like, why isn't my counter up there? What have we been talking? What time is it? Well, let's just back this up a little bit.
Yeah, we'll just back up and we'll just hit the highlights.
Blah, 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 blah.
We really did talk about a lot of stuff.
Okay, so we'll just go through it really fast. Okay, so I said before time blocking, let's talk about time journaling. Why do we time journal? Because finding out what you already do makes it a lot easier to create time for what you want to do, because you're able to look at what you already do and be like, oh, I really enjoy it. First of all, pat yourself on the back, because you do a lot every single day, and you should probably pat yourself on the back for that. Then after you do that, that makes it so that you can kind of compress the things and build out your time blocking schedule into the things that you want to achieve. And we talked a little bit about Richard's cats and how when he got new cats to foster, he found it very easy to kind of go back into these habits and these patterns, these external sort of, the cats provided this external circumstance. Motivator for him to be able to kind of do more things and be back into a schedule. And why is that? Well, we touched on that with Lisa Feldman Barrett, because cats are a part of being social. Even if we're not being social with other humans, by having an element outside of us that is social, it kind of holds us accountable. That accountability is an external motivator. Then it triggers our internal motivators. We're actually able to get more things done when we have those sort of social interactions with other people, because the best thing for people is other people. Of course, the worst thing for people is other people. And so that's why I think just before we realized that we weren't live, I was kind of talking about this idea that kind of what we've been working through in this podcast is this idea that we are capable more than what we realize. So we kind of started with this idea of like, who sculpts who we are? We started that with Lisa Feldman Barrett in the 7.5 lessons about our brain. What does our experiences, who shapes who we are, who shapes who we think we can be, right? And then once we kind of realize that it is a lot of this external sort of factors that create that. And we still have like this sort of autonomy for deciding who we can be. And we can set these impossible goals. And once we kind of realized that, we started going through the art of impossible and what it means to tackle impossible goals. What does impossible mean for each of us, etc., right? So now we're really looking at this granular experience of what does it mean to schedule ourselves for creating impossible outcomes, right? And it gets kind of granular. And like I said, it seems kind of rudimentary and it seems kind of obvious the way this worksheet kind of plays through. However, there's something to be said about writing things down and then implement.
We're glad you're here, Robbie. Thank you.
That you wrote down.
Don't watch the replay. Because there isn't one.
All right, you're here. Yeah. It turns out, Robbie, we were not.
We thought we were. We thought
we were here. We had a whole conversation.
Boy, anyway, it was fantastic. Anyway, she's just giving a synopsis. If you want to go back and listen to that, This gets us up to where we kind of were when we realized we weren't live.
Anyway, that being said, so controlling the inputs, not the outcomes. So we talked a little bit as we're getting granular about scheduling ourselves for these things that we've realized that we can do that maybe we held ourselves back from because we told ourselves stories about what we couldn't do. Still can't believe that we didn't hit. I am highly distracted by the fact that we are only 5 minutes into our live and we've been talking for half hour. So we talked about controlling the inputs, not the outcomes. So if we're going to use exercise as a super sort of rudimentary example, instead of saying I'm going to exercise every day, or I'm going to exercise so that I can lose weight, if you just say I'm going to exercise for 1 hour, the outcome will kind of resolve itself. It'll resolve itself, and it makes it easier to kind of just do the thing, because the outcome is really none of your business in the day-to-day life.
And you can't control it. Right? Cannot control the outcome.
You can't control it because there's all these variables. Yeah, yes. There's all these variables to it. And if you say you're going to exercise 1 hour every day, and like for some reason your car breaks down and you can't make it to the gym to meet your outcome, that's fine. You know, you can just, if you say things like, I'm going to go to the gym every day instead of I'm going to exercise every day, then you're like stuck in this weird mindset where you're like, well, I can't get to the gym, so now I'm not going to bother. Well, I mean, let's be real. There's other ways to, you could exercise.
You can recover the time in other ways.
You can recover the time in other ways. So by having like an activity and then the amount of time that you want to allocate, then you can kind of work within those parameters,
because you're still controlling the input. If you just change the time at which you do that hour, well, that means I'm going to stay up
or
late.
How you accomplish that activity. Yeah,
it doesn't matter how you do it, but it's scheduled in, and then you have the freedom to change it if something makes you change it, like the freeze plug falling out of the head in your vehicle.
Yes. Okay, so like really figure out, like for me, I'm going to be honest, like the relationships, the friendships, things of that nature are pretty low on my list of priorities. So a lot of my day is going to be filled in with doing other things. Like coming here once a week is my time to kind of create community and to have conversations with people about things that I love to talk about. And so like this is my community, and I make time for it. I time block it out, and most of the time I remember to hit the live button before we go live so that other people can share in this experience. But streaming is dynamic.
Yeah, well, stop beating yourself up. You can't fix it. We just got to roll with it, and we're doing the best we can.
Listen, I'm not beating myself up. It's more like a touchback for anybody who shows up late and says, hey,
I don't know. Somebody called bullshit on me when I was saying something about when I wrecked my bike or something. God,
fair.
Oh, it's just, it won't come to me. I can't quite.
Go back and listen to last week's episode if you'd like to know more about the shit that he's giving me currently. Please go back. Don't forget to like and subscribe and listen to that episode. So I have friends, Robbie, and you are one of them, and I see you here once a week.
Right. And that's why this is important to her, as she said.
And then I miss you. So,
snide remarks.
Yeah, snide remarks. All right. So, like I said, so you name the activities you want to do. Again, I'm going to encourage everybody to kind of list what you already do, because you already
start
have
there.
Things that you do. Yeah.
And you should do that before you decide what else you're going to try and put into it. What does it say? Do it for a week or a few days or something. I can't remember exactly what the time frame was, but it was a certain amount of time that you write down what you're doing, just what you're doing, not what you want to do, not what your dreams are, not what your impossible task is, just what you do.
And that time journaling, I think that's a Carrie thing. I don't think that was in this book. I think that's a
Are you sure?
I'm almost positive.
Because it kind of feels like that fits into the whole time box theory thing.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does.
And I think that's where I got that from, because I think you alluded to it in that, and that's where I must have picked up subconsciously on your vibes.
Time journaling is an exercise that I kind of developed from a couple different places. And
I don't do it at all.
The reasoning behind the time journaling is, I think it's kind of it's multi-pronged reasoning for time journaling. Number one is if you feel like you're lazy and you feel like you don't do anything and you're being hard on yourself, do a time journal for a week, because you'll be able to see all the things that you actually do in the week. And I think
that makes sense.
So I think it's a good like depression. It's a good anxiety thing. It's a good self-worth activity, because you can see the worth in which you write down every conversation, write down every activity, write down every time, every thought that you can remember. And what I would do is like every 30 minutes, I just kind of jot down what I thought about, what I did, who I interacted with in the last 30 minutes, or I do it.
And you can get as crazy as you want. This can get down to, I pet the cat at 3:45. I put water down for the cat at 5:02. I went to the bathroom so I'd feel better at 4:03. I mean, you can get as nitpicky as you want.
Get that granular.
I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying you can.
I'd be like between 4 and 4:30. These are all the things that I did between 4 and 4:30.
Yeah.
And then I'd jot the time. And then I'd do some more stuff, and then I'd look at the clock and I'd be like, oh, between 4:30 and 5:15, this is what I did. So like I didn't even like hold myself to like documenting at a certain time during the day. It's just and not even in a specific journal. I'd just write it on scratches of paper and I'd just throw them in my pocket. And at the end of the day, I'd pull it all out and I'd kind of put it in order and I'd take a look. And maybe if I was feeling super motivated, I'd rewrite it into a notebook so I could see it all together. But like it doesn't have to be structured, because I know that a lot of people like rebel against this idea of structure. And it doesn't have to be structure for you to kind of start there. And then from that time journal, after a week or two, in this sort of context, you're able to see what it is that you already do. And then you can look at the outcomes in your life. And if you have any sort of regret, if you're using like a language of, oh, I wish I spent more time with my friends, or I wish I spent more time exercising, or I wish I spent more time cooking for myself instead of eating out, then you can really look at this time journal and be like, okay, well, here's some gaps where like I did some things and I can feel really good about being productive, or I can feel really good about doing stuff. But this stuff is not as important to me as cooking for myself and creating a meal. So what I'll do is I'll just take this and I'll take that away and I'll swap it out and I'll plug something back in that I would like to do. And by just, and it's like a caring sort of thoughtful way to kind of replace what you're doing in your life with something that you want to be doing in your life. Because I mean, you wouldn't have done it if you didn't want to on some level, but when you have it documented already on how you're kind of allocating your time currently, and then when you notice that there's this chunk of time where you kind of have like negative language around it, you can just pull that out and pop something else in. Or move that thing that you have kind of negative language to like a less impactful time of your day. Yeah. You know?
Absolutely agree. And I think that the most important part to take home from that is that you don't always have to be successful plugging in the new thing.
Well,
that might not work sometimes. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe
you might try something and plug it in and whoa, that was a mistake. You can unplug it and even go back to what you did before and then try and change it for something else after you've re-examined. So
I'm a really
it's not a
person. I'm a big fan of sticky notes. And if you kind of color code your sticky notes and you move them all around until you find a thing that works, then put that into your digital calendar or put that into your permanent sort of calendar.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to kind of play with this and don't like create a thing and then hold yourself to it. I think it's more about creating a thing and seeing how organically you can adhere to it.
Yes.
Because there's only so much willpower and we only have so much self-discipline before we run ourselves ragged, beat ourselves up, and become exhausted.
Mm-hmm. And you will.
The reality of it. It's just the reality of it. So he talks a little bit about how to sync with stakeholders at work. I don't think any of us that I know of that are watching this currently have like jobs in which they can have control over autonomy over what they're doing when at work. So I like this. Let's talk a little bit about hacking back against external triggers. So external triggers can lead to distraction. Cues in our environment like pings, dings, and rings from devices, as well as other interruptions from other people, frequently take us off tasks. I am a big fan of just turning off your phone altogether. You can choose when you look at it, and then you can see what you want to catch up on, and that is a big deal. Not all external triggers are harmful. So like I will turn my phone off, but my calendar alerts are always on noisy. So when something comes from my phone, I know it's like, oh, this is a thing that I have scheduled coming up in the next 30 minutes. Like what is it? And I can hear it. So that is something that is useful. It gives us traction. And then is this trigger serving me or am I serving it? So like again, at work, one of the tricks that I use when I'm doing it, like I said, 'cause I have a bunch of like tasks. Some of them are sort of repetitive. Some of them are hard for me to stay on task with. But if I put in an earbud, then like I don't really hear people when they're just like idle conversation on their way by while they're doing their thing. And I might not like sometimes I'll hear, I'll be like, huh? And they're like, oh, never mind. Because they can see, like, because I don't hear them and respond to them right away and I don't engage with them right away, it really kind of minimizes the distraction that other people can kind of inflict upon me while I'm at work in like this thing that I'm trying to get done in this certain amount of time. So like just figuring out, like where's, there might be a kitchen where I was in where they're like, oh, well, especially corporate type things. They're like, you're not allowed to have an earbud in. And it's like, listen, it actually will get me done faster because I'm using it to tune out these external triggers that are keeping me distracted and out of like this sort of continuous flow of output and productivity, right? This is actually really fun. This is a really good thing to do. If you set a timer during any of your time blocks that you do and write down all the experience, or set a 3-minute timer, write down all the external triggers that you experienced in a certain day. Consider the triggers that got your attention, and then note whether the trigger served you or not. It's just, again, it's from that sort of time journaling concept.
So
where you're like,
I want to make sure I understand this.
You.
You're saying you sit down for 3 minutes and write down the external triggers from your day that you remember or can think of. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't say that. It kind of says it.
It kind of says that. I use this as a brain dump too. I'm a big fan of when you're feeling really stressed out. I do the same thing. Like if I'm feeling really stressed out and I feel like I'm super overwhelmed, the best way to get rid of overwhelm is to create like a brain dump where you get it out of your head and onto paper. And I set a 2-minute timer and I write all the thoughts, not the things, not the circumstances, not the stories about them. It's not like, dear diary, I wish that so-and-so would stop pestering me, and you tell like this narrative, right? This narrative. I literally try to write it like a grocery list, right? And it's just a grocery list of thoughts that come into my head during that 2 minutes. And even if I don't finish the thought and a new one pops up, I just start on the new one. And you're just like, boom, 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 boom. And it's like, I'm really overwhelmed. There's this I got to do. I got to think about this. I got to think about that. This person... Somebody's talking to me and my phone just went off again. And then like after that 2 minutes up, I stop and I look and I'm like, okay, all that shit is out of my head because that shit's been swirling around in your head. And it really only takes 2 minutes to get rid of that and get it onto paper. And then you look at each one and you say the thought or the partial thought to yourself and you reflect on how it feels in your body. And you will discover like which ones are useful and which ones are not. And then you can focus on changing the ones that are not useful by neutralizing them and maybe working on them daily to kind of pull them to a more positive place for you. Because these thoughts are not just the thoughts that are happening in that 2 minutes. Usually when you have that sort of pending sense of doom or overwhelm, it's because these same sort of things or the same theme of things have been swirling in your mind for a while until it reaches this kind of boiling point. And when you dump them all down and you start to really consider them, and I'll work on that. Like I'll do that list, say at the beginning of the week, and I will kind of work myself through that list for a week or two. And that gives me like this focus. And then when I start to feel that bubbling of overwhelm again, I can look at my list and be like, no, I already dumped all this out and I'm working on it bit by bit because our thoughts about a circumstance create our feelings. And when we have a lot of things swirling around and we don't have some sort of tangible thing to focus on, that's where
this
that
allows
overwhelm.
you to do that. Right.
Yeah, that's where that overwhelm and that pending sense of doom kind of comes in. I call it a thought dump. And again, that's a concept that I've learned from other places, but I've kind of refined it and made it kind of my own useful thing.
I've found exercises like this in the past for different things where you do this dump of ideas or words or things or whatever you're trying to get through. And I find them very, very challenging because
they are challenging.
My brain, sometimes I think it goes too fast. I don't know how to describe it. My thought process.
Which is why
I can't. Then I can't write it down, and it's like a traffic jam.
Yep. Which is why I encourage people to set a 2-minute timer and to write it as if it's a grocery list, not a story or a narrative, and not to try and finish a thought if a new one falls up. So you just like a dot. You don't even number them. Just dot and start writing that sentence.
Right.
Dot. Write a new sentence.
So it's not a 1, 2, 3. It's just a this.
Yep. And you're just a new line, and only give yourself to the end of that line, and then the next. Like, do not write several lines for one thought.
The goal to make it be short as possible.
A thought is a sentence. It is not a story with multiple sentences. It is one single sentence. And if you don't finish that sentence before a new sentence pops into your head, just start the new sentence. Because at the end of the 2 minutes, you will see that there is a theme. And it's the theme that matters. And you can always, like your half sentences, when you go back after you've cleared some shit out, you can go back and you can finish that sentence and work.
You'll remember what you were thinking about or going to write.
But more often than not, 3 sentences down from that will be the completion of that. Will be the full or a version of that half sentence.
Okay.
You know? So like that's what makes it less overwhelming. Is you have a time limit. There's no sort of comprehensiveness necessary for it. It's literally like making eggs, milk, cheese, bread, soup.
Right. Yeah.
When you're making a shopping list, you're not like, I'm going to get cheese. I'm going to get only yellow cheese. I'm going to only get yellow cheese that's between this date, that's from this region, that's from this sort of area.
Yeah.
No, you just write cheese. You just write cheese on your shopping list, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes when you get to the store, then you kind of look at like, oh, what cheese looks good? I don't want to get an expired cheese. I like the yellow cheese over the white cheese. Like you can kind of do, but this is not the time for it. You're just like eggs, cheese, milk, parsley.
Like if you're making raviolis, you probably don't want to stuff them with cheddar. Okay, just saying. It's probably not going to work very well.
If you
might like it.
But that is not the point of this list. And that's the whole thing. Is when you're doing this brain dump, you're not considering those details, because those details will bog you down. And there's where a lot of people, I think, run into trouble with this brain dump.
It's a perfect example of how I bogged myself down in the thought process, and I go that traffic jam of thoughts.
Right. And so, like, if you're going to do it, then you're just like, ravioli, cheddar, ? White, ? Already made, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
You can work through your ravioli problem in the same way of just like, do I even like raviolis? Do I want a white sauce? I kind of feel.
But I can just write ravioli, continue on with my list of other things, completely unrelated to ravioli, and then come back to ravioli and write down those cheese items or what I'm going to put. I get it.
Well, and really, I think what I do is just like ravioli. And if you find after the 2 minutes you have like wrote down a bunch of other sentences regarding the details of that ravioli, then you need to stop and be like, okay, ravioli is my thought. Dinner is the circumstance. What is my deal with ravioli? How does ravioli make me feel? And so like just the idea is a shopping list. Like, don't force yourself to jump around. If for some reason naturally you're kind of ruminating on this cheese, what kind of cheese in the ravioli situation.
Exactly.
But you're still like, cheddar or blah blah blah. Like, do I like ravioli? Do I want Chinese food? What is going on here? How come I'm still writing about raviolis? It's almost done with the 2 minutes. Like literally, when I say like thought dump it, like a list, that's what you're doing, and you're just kind of you're allowing it to flow the way that it flows. But by not having it by having those dots, it kind of gives you like this point, and by giving yourself like the space limit of a single sentence and the end of that line on that page, you're really able to, unpack it when you go back through it and understand that these sentences are neutral. You have feelings about these sentences. These feelings are what drive your actions. So like once you look at the thought, just be like, what is the circumstance that I can't control around this thought? What is the feeling I have about this thought? And then what kind of action is this feeling driving me to do or not do? And we kind of went down a rabbit hole kind of away from the book, but I think it's really important because it's the same sort of philosophy that I have behind that thought, the time journal, right? Is you have all these things you're doing. And if you go back through that time journal and you look at a chunk of your time that you're doing and you do this thought download or this thought dump about that chunk of time and you create this laundry list of thoughts that you have, then you can kind of see this theme. And whatever kind of language you're using constantly about this chunk of time that you're spending, that really gives you this like knowing of whether or not it's something you want to swap out with something else.
It makes sense.
Sometimes it's not about changing the language to feel better. Sometimes it's about changing the thing. But then sometimes you have this thing that you're doing where the language that you're using, like you want to change the thought as opposed to the thing. And it's just kind of like this nebulous, it's taking like this, what we're trying to do and how we think about what we're trying to do and how we think about ourselves. And it really kind of creates this clear sort of basic algebra problem, like basic algebraic expression problem, right? Where you're trying to solve for the unknown. And so sometimes we have the thought that's known, sometimes we have the activity that's known, sometimes we have the feeling that's known, and we're just trying to kind of put it into a place where we can look at it and kind of just start like taking control over what we're swapping out. And then at the end of the day, we're like, I'm pretty aligned with what it is that I want to do in an intentional way, right? It's one of those things that we like to talk about a lot, is being really intentional with the outcomes of our lives. And the only way we can be really intentional with the outcomes of our lives is separating what happens outside of us we can't really control. But we can look at our time. We can look at our thoughts about that time. We can look at the words that we're using. We can look at, and shit will always happen. But we always kind of have control over the framing of that or the recovery from that.
Right. And remember, this is about not being distracted. It's about being and having traction.
Yeah.
Being able to focus and be able to gain on whatever it is. I said the whole ravioli thing was jokingly, but you insert your own thing in there.
But none of it is ever trivial. And that's why I was like, okay, we're going to talk about raviolis, because raviolis is a perfect example. Because don't trivialize things that are
that makes sense too. That makes sense too.
Hello, Woody. Welcome.
Hello, Woody. Welcome. Good to see you. Glad you came in.
The second half of our live stream. The first half is invisible. You cannot see it.
Yeah, it's invisible. If you watch the replay, you won't see it. You'll wonder what was happening. But Carrie gives a fantastic synopsis at the beginning of this second half of the live stream that really did go live, as opposed to the first half that didn't. I think I confused myself.
I don't know. It's real. Streaming.
That's all right. We only got 2 minutes left anyway, so it can't get too much worse.
We can't. Yeah.
Normally we have a full hour of conversation.
Today is a half hour.
Today's a half hour.
It's fine. All right. So I think we went down a little rabbit hole, but I thought it was a kind of a necessary rabbit hole.
I think it was good.
I really used.
It was good. Yeah. It pointed out some things to me that I was looking at in it wasn't a negative way. It was just incorrect, not helpful. I don't know how to say. I'm trying to say it in a not negative way, in a brain saying "fuck off."
Well, you said that you have a hard time kind of dumping out your thoughts and clearing your brain. You find it difficult, and I think I really tried to break down for you that the reason why it's difficult is because it seems like such a big task. I mean, when people, when they tell you to unload your thoughts, they don't really give you specifics onto what could be a useful way to do that.
Right.
You know,
Because I can, when I try and unload my brain onto paper,
you can free write for hours, or you can stare at a blank page and be like, fuck. But there's something about setting the timer and telling yourself that you don't have to finish a sentence, and each line equals a new thought, and then you only have to do it for 2 minutes. You don't have to finish your thought. You're writing it like a grocery list with zero sort of attachment to what that thought means.
I'll try it that way when I get this opportunity again to sit down and break this down. I will try and do the list more.
Well, I encourage you to do it like right after we get off the stream. Just try writing the list and tell me what it feels like, because sometimes like just do the damn thing, right? Just set your timer for 2 minutes and
write a list about not wanting to write a list.
Listen, if you think
I am being an ass right now.
No, if you think that I have not written that exact list, you are out of your fucking mind. But the whole point is just what thoughts do you have in the 2 minutes? And as soon as you start writing them down in a non, because you're going to go back, you don't have to process them, because you're going to go back and process them after the 2 minutes is up. Yeah. So like you have like zero emotional attachment to the sentences coming out of your brain onto that piece of paper. There's no wrong answer. There's only ridiculousness, and it's fine.
Okay.
And the idea is to speed, get as many down as you possibly can. In
paper
that
and a pen right there. I could do it.
And 2 minutes is not, once you get rolling, 2 minutes is not enough time. And it is about the speed. It's about how many thoughts can I get down in that 2 minutes? Because here's the science behind it. The person has 60,000 thoughts in their average waking hours. I think when I math that out, that's like one thought every 60 seconds or something like that. One thought every 24 seconds. I don't remember exactly what it was. But that's a lot of thoughts. That's a lot of thoughts. Complete or incomplete, they're just thoughts, right? So in 2 minutes, you're going to have quite a few thoughts. And each one is just its own thing that stands alone. And then you process how they're connected later, and how they make you feel later, and what the general theme is, and what circumstance they're related to. Because you might be thinking about dinner, then you might be thinking about work, and then you might be thinking about your cat, and then you might be thinking, because that's how our brains work. And the more ADHD we have, you're like, and what is that over there? And oh my God, there's a fruit fly in front of me, and there's a rock sitting in front of me, and my phone just blinked again. And is my charger working? And
I get it. I'll try it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
I will.
And then you can be like, all right, what are these that are just like can kind of push to the back ticker? You know, if you think about like the New York Times or the New York Stock Exchange, right? They have the big tickers and
the big ticker thing, right?
Yeah. You can push some to the back, just like, oh, these are like little ticker items. These are just things that are just, and then I can pull forward these things that are really meaningful, help me live intentionally to the forefront. And those are the ones that I look at. And those are the ones that I go, okay, what circumstances kind of perpetuated this thought? What feelings do I have from this thought? Action is that feeling driving me to do? And is that action something that I want to do? Or inaction? An action can be inaction as well, right? What things is this thought stopping me from? It's super useful. I mean, like if you don't like journaling, if you don't like writing things down, like this is something that you could do. Everybody has 2 minutes to be able to do this.
Okay, I will try it.
All right. And we're at time. We're at time, folks. Right. I mean, we're actually at halftime, but we're just fine. We're just gonna roll with it. We do have an outro. Guess what? We have an outro. Let's add that.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for being here for half of our show. That's completely our fault. But we'll try and do a full hour show next week.
To be fair, we did a full hour this time, Richard. We solved all the problems with the world.
A full hour live. A full hour live.
Thoughts that flew like paper dolls, wrap it up and let it fall. Turn the volume down low, my friends. This chatter's come to an end. Till we gather again and again. Let these moments extend. In the quiet, hear the clock tick tock. Words won't stop, but we'll walk the walk. Dream a little till the next talk. Out of time, let's unlock. Turn the volume down low, my friends. This chatter's come to an end. Till we gather again and again. Let these moments extend. In the quiet, hear the clock tick tock. Words won't stop, but we'll walk the walk. Dream a little till the next talk. Out of time, let's unlock. Turn the volume down low, my friends. This chatter's come to an end. Till we gather again and again. Let these moments extend. With open minds, now we drift on the book of fine. Page by page until we bind sweet goodbyes, let's unwind.
Do you hear that? You're on mute still, but do you hear my daughter riling up those dogs after I just spent?
I also see the timer is still counting.
Is it still counting?
Yes, it is.
You know what? Listen, everybody.
I think we got a glitch happening here.
I am blaming StreamYard. Full on blaming StreamYard
100%.
for that. Yeah.
Try and stop the live again now and see what happens.
This is the secret after show. If you have stayed this long, then you are true blue fans. And
we love you.
And we love you.